Okay, first we're going to do a catch up as to what has been done so far. And so, a quick little drone flight here from a previous video and showing the two beds, two plots, one that we are going to be gardening, one that we're not. This is showing the first load of wood chips that is still out there, and we're going to be trying to move those on Thursday. So Thursday I'm going to try to make sure and have a side-by-side, a wheelbarrow and some other tools. Other people bring their wheelbarrows and tools, and we need to move these wood chips over to the other side of the truck. I have taken a rotary plow, new tool to me, and created some hopefully permanent raised beds, meaning this will be about the only time that I do any actual tilling type stuff. You see the outline of the raised beds that are there. Part of it is sloping downhill, so that part won't be there initially. And then I went out there today after some rain. Quick visit to the Riceland Garden after the rain, and the water you see standing there right now might be a bit of an issue, but that's actually a good thing. That's kind of what I wanted, because if that happens now, that's going to happen later in the year, especially in those times when we're needing a rain. We get a rain and we want to keep that water on the property and not let it run off. So it'll be held in these, and then of course if we get the mulch in there, it'll keep from evaporating. Another good thing about that mulch and stuff is, as wet as it is here right now, where we've already put out mulch, you can walk on this with flip-flops and not get muddy. That's another good thing about doing this kind of deep mulching and stuff. The raised beds, these first two beds, I don't know what's in what, but we do have whatever's in these first two beds is starting to come up a little bit. The next couple of beds I don't really see anything, but hopefully the same thing will be happening. Potatoes, I don't expect them to come up at least for a while. But anyway, quick update after rain. Okay, this is a slightly modified version of what the co-chairs and I went over in our weekly Zoom meeting. So what we're trying to do is the co-chairs on Monday morning have a Zoom meeting, those that can attend, and we discuss anything that has been done and what to do for the next week, and just basically make sure we're all on the same page and give each other input and just kind of do the planning and stuff. And that way, if whoever's able to be there on Thursday or Friday, we all know what the plan is, at least for the week, if there were any issues that need to be taken care of or anything. So this is kind of a version of that for everybody. This is the garden as it looks just prior to the rain we had yesterday. For those who may not know, just in case, Riceland Rice is over here, the railroad tracks. This is the largest of the three beds that were, or plots that were gardened last year. It had beans, it had a lot of, there's a lot of volunteer flowers. I'm trying to remember exactly what they were, but anyway, and then there's a tree, and then to the south of that was the next bed that had a little bit of squash and some other things, but this is the one we're focusing on this year. So anything that happens on the others is kind of off the books, you might say. We've got this bed which has different lettuces, spinach, leafy greens. It's already been planted, and as you saw at the very beginning, these two beds closest to where you pull in are actually already, so stuff's already popping up there. This is kind of an impromptu lasagna roost out version of a potato bed. So had some sprouted potatoes I got from D&E in town, put them there. There is room, if I can get my cursor up there again, there is room in this area to possibly add some more. Of course, I need some more straw, or we could use some of the mulch and stuff anyway. But there could be a few more potatoes put in there, kind of even that out. these are pathways. Where's my mouse keep going? These are pathways to get to the center. So there's, whether you park here or whether you park up on the concrete, you have a way to get kind of to the center and get through. Or of course you can walk around the outside here. Right now you can walk this direction, and we'll probably keep a pathway between this and these beds and that. So you've got ample ways of getting in and around. We're not going to focus on this area very much right now. We'll see the numbering convention here in a little bit. And this area is, we're going to put at least the initial composting. There may eventually be more composting put somewhere over here or wherever if we fill 1 or 2 bins and it's doing well. But for now, I want to put at least the initial one there. Everything's subject to change over time. In doing the pathways this way, just the way it worked out, it actually kind of helped in the naming convention, because we have north, south, east, and west. Well, this now gives us kind of the north beds, our rows, the south rows, the east rows. So when talking about a row or a bed, then we can orient it starting with the direction from the center, if that helps. And then starting from the center, we'll name them, we'll number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now each side may have slightly different. This one's got 10 going to the outer ring. This one's only got 8, just the way it worked out. We got 1, 2, 3. I guess we could call this 4 and 5. When we've got corners, then we'll just add 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And we'll come up with kind of a map of this. I mean, I've already made a couple. And hopefully we'll eventually have, you'll be able to have with you, but we'll also have kind of an information board somewhere when you drive up that'll have this map. And then as we plant things or whatever, then there'll be a list, so that if you want the green beans, contender green beans, those may be in East 7. And you'll know that it's 7 to start with. If you start at the center, you can count. But eventually, and this will be a project if somebody wants to take it on, is to make some kind of little stakes or signs. And it doesn't have to be every single row. It can be the odd ones. So you can have like 1, 3, 5, and then of course you can assume 4 is what's in between 3 and 5. But we can put little markers out there to help identify the actual rows as you're going around, and then have that legend or that list of what is in each one. We do not have to plant everything. We don't have to be in a rush to get the whole thing planted. Let's start maybe in this area. When we get this complete, all these are planted out, then we can start maybe in this area. And as so this may be the first thing we do. This may be a little bit more of the spring garden. Then we add some summer stuff, and then we look into fall. And that way we can just kind of work our way around as the season goes on. And if beds, especially like these little corner beds or something, they've got some Bermuda and some rhizomatous type grasses that may be a problem, well, we just may not plant those. We may leave them formed, mulch them, and then maybe put some tarps over them just to keep the light from getting to them, to start the process of kind of helping control the grass, kill the grass. And they may not get planted till later in the year or next year. It's not a big deal. We don't have to do every square inch, all of us, all at once. There may be a few things that get put in right off the bat in some other areas I'll talk about here in a second. But I think for Thursday, for this week, our first official week, we need to focus on getting the wood chips that you saw earlier. I want to start at least in this pathway. If we've got enough to finish that pathway, then I'd like to kind of fill in here a little bit, but definitely fill in this pathway, that pathway, that pathway, and that one. Let's kind of focus on this triangle and see how far we can get. Riceland has put about 4 or 5 bags of those big pickup size bags of the rice hulls. Once we've got the wood chips down in the pathways, that'll kind of bring that up level. And then as we plant things, or even possibly before we plant, then we can put the rice hulls down on top as a mulch to keep the soil covered. I'm curious to see what happens with those. Are they light enough that they're going to get blown away? Are they going to stay in place? I'm just kind of curious what happens, but we've got them, and so we need to use them, and that'll be where we kind of start. Now, I have got, I'll probably bring them Thursday and then maybe Friday as well. I have got corms from elephant garlic, which is a very, very, it's not actually a garlic, it's a leek. But it's in the allium family. And normally you would plant elephant garlic the same way you do regular garlic. You'd put the cloves in and then harvest them that year. But if anybody's grown elephant garlic, when you pull them out, sometimes if they've been in there long enough, you'll have the cloves, but then you got these little things hanging on. Those are called corms. You can plant those as well. The first year you will get something that looks like an onion, but it smells like garlic and it tastes like elephant garlic, a mild form of garlic. That's what you get the first year, and those are called rounds. Then if you replant those or leave them in the ground, the second year is when you get the cloves. So it takes 2 years to go from a corm all the way to a clove. I've got a whole baggie full of those, so there's no reason not to use them. I've been hanging on to them, and before, while they might still be viable, I figured we can plant those out as some alliums. And then I've got a pretty good bag of some garlic. It's not your regular white garlic from the grocery store, but it is I do believe it's a hardneck when I was pulling the cloves off. Kind of a reddish tint to the paper on it and stuff, but it's I could look back and see the actual variety. But I've got quite a bit of that, and maybe on this bed, and this bed, we could probably fill this one easily with the elephant garlic and just use what we need, and that's it. On this bed and this bed, we might kind of do just kind of the edge of it with regular garlic, leave the center, and then we can do some companion planting with something in the center. But that's what I will have. If somebody has got onion sets, I went by D&E and they didn't have any. But if somebody has or wants to come up with onion sets, then we can start on one of the other beds, kind of working our way out or whatever. And Judy's working on flowers. So if you've got flower seeds that you wouldn't mind donating as well, bring those. And Judy will be there either Thursday and or Friday. She can let us know. If she's not there Thursday, then, maybe I'll hang on to them. I'll put them in a big bag or box or something. Make sure they get to her, and she can start going through and helping us figure out what flowers to put out, when to put them out, and helping figure out where to space them out. Because I want blocks of flowers for pollinators and predators all over the place. I don't, one row would be awesome, a row right there. But when we get out here, instead of having maybe a whole row of them, maybe just kind of have some blocks in with whatever else we're doing. But so that's the way it looks right now. We're going to start right here, get the mulch as far as we can, and then start moving. So maybe do this one, and then if we've got enough, maybe start in the center and work this direction and or the corners and work in. And then as we get more springtime and are putting more bulk crops in, then we can start in some of these longer rows, and hopefully I'll be able to get a whole lot more wood chips. The water has been turned on. I do have some locks. They look like this. They will be put on the faucets out there because apparently last year there was a problem with somebody, not a master gardener, but somebody in the area, either just turning it on, leaving it on, or washing their cars. So there'll be locks on them. They'll all combinations. They'll have identical combinations. I can change them if I need to. And the co-chairs and the gentleman with Riceland, so the representative from Riceland, will have the combinations, and that's it. Nobody else will have the combinations because we don't want just anybody and everybody going out there and watering when they feel like it. Also, right now, there will not be a water hose out there. So if there's going to be some watering done, somebody has to take a water hose out there. That may get mitigated and fixed at some point in the year. But if we take water hose out there, we've got to have a place to put them and secure them so that they will be there when we need them. a few possibilities that that may be a little bit different for people. Raspberries and or thornless blueberries or blackberries. I've got a message out to Brandon, to the extension agent, to see if by chance we could get some from the extension service through the University of Arkansas, because they do have a good berry program. And Dr. McWhorter, I've heard her speak a couple of times on some of the efforts and the testing and research station for the blackberries and stuff is in our area, very local to us. But here's 3 different kinds of trellising. I've done a couple of those before that we may look at doing if we can get them, and it's okay. And I'm kind of thinking of putting them back in this area, simply because they can get kind of thick and kind of tall. And so this is the north and this is the west, and you want your tall stuff back on the north and the west side so they don't shade anything that they shouldn't be shading, especially in the mornings. Up north, they're not in the way of anything. And even if we kind of came around here, it might be good after a year or two when they fill in, so that harsh west sun in the middle of the summer, which the trees help some, but they can give a little bit of shade and protection from later on, in the second, third year or something of that nature. So there's a possibility a little bit later we may do some raspberries, thornless blackberries. We'll probably do some tomatoes. I've got a couple of 16-foot cattle panels that were donated that I'll probably take out there. And then Karen Massey's familiar with the Florida weave. When it comes time for that, this won't be this week. This kind of stuff isn't going to be this week. I'm just letting you know what to think about and what to be ready for in the future. But how to do a Florida weave type of trellising so that it's okay for a larger scale out there, and rather than having to come up with a whole bunch of cages which could come up missing or whatever. So we talked about that. I'm a big okra fan, so we may do some okra with some cowpeas, and I've got several varieties of each of those. So that may be a possibility a little bit later. We're talking about the different kinds of squash. One of the big questions I've mentioned several times, but I haven't really gotten a consensus from or a majority vote on, is, do we want to seed save? Not just squash, but do we want to do seed saving? I know there's been some interest and a lot of silence. If we want to seed save, that's going to go into what we decide to plant. But anyway, cucumbers. We've got enough room to do a couple of different pots of cucumbers, maybe at different times, different places. Eggplant, most people probably, if they're familiar with eggplant at all, they're used to ones that kind of are this size and shape, but are completely this color. There are many different kinds of eggplant, and I've got at least probably 5 or 6 of these, if not more, that we can grow. And again, this could be a palette expansion for some people in the area, and also just something that people from another culture might say, hey, they actually know about this. They're growing this. Maybe we get new members that way that we can learn from. All kinds of melons, cantaloupes. I used to never like cantaloupe until I started growing them, and then I like the ones I grow. Different kinds of greens. Swiss chard, I think, is an easy one. It lasts for a long time. Got collard greens, all kinds of stuff. Was talking when we had this meeting online, and there's many other crops that we're thinking about. Different kinds of herbs, peppers, definitely. Got all kinds of different peppers. We did the onions. We can do more potatoes, different kinds, beets. Possibly carrots, although that can be a little tricky. So I'm interested when you come out. Let's do some talking about what you think would grow good out here, what you'd like to grow, maybe what some seed you've already got. Personally, I would like to be able to do all of this without having to ask Riceland to buy seed for us. I think that we can, between ourselves or something, easily do this. I mean, I could plant this whole garden from a grocery store without even going to the garden area. It may not have quite the variety that I would like, but there's enough in a regular. I could go to a Save-A-Lot and plant this entire garden fairly cheaply. Definitely not a problem. But again, Thursday, 9:30. As soon as I can get there, I'm going to try to bring a side-by-side to help move some of that mulch a little bit faster. And then Friday as well. Thursday will be focused on moving mulch. If we get that done, or it's getting done, if we got enough people that's getting done very quickly, we may do a little bit of planting or seeding. And then Friday, I would hope that we've already gotten the mulch done, and then we can do the seeding and maybe any other conversation out there as far as on-site planning or education or something. If you've got ideas, if you've got questions, if you've got concerns, let me know. Reach out to me, reach out to any of the co-chairs, reach out to any of the officers of the club, so that we've all got everybody's phone number if we want to look through the book and the list and stuff like that. So maybe a little bit long-winded. I hope you're still here, and I hope I'll see you Thursday. I am horrible with names, so you may have to tell me your name a few different times before I remember it or something like that. I'm very goal and task focused. I'm not really that good at names a lot of times, which wasn't too good. It was not exactly in my favor when I was a nurse. Anyway, thanks.